What are we doing and where are we?
Well, we're not in Hackshop Garage today, as you can tell. We're doing something a little bit different today. Today, we are putting this thing on the dyno, as well as the Sandman out there on the dyno. And there's two reasons for that. One, Rod Run is coming up next weekend, and
So
both these cars run like crap.
I was about to say, I thought you were going to be like, they run like shit.
Yeah, pretty much. If anyone's been following along with my sniper journey, it's had its strengths and weaknesses along the way, I suppose. Actually, just by chance, Nathan drove it from the garage to here today, and he said it drove better than it ever has before. Whereas the last time I drove it, it was doing all kinds of weird shit. But yeah, so we're going to see if we can iron out some kinks with that today, see how that goes. Hopefully that fixes a few issues. We'll go into that later. The Sandman has literally just been finished. I got it running yesterday, and we're going to wear that in on the dyno, bed it in, and we're also going to try our hand at tuning a CARBY with a screwdriver. So the second reason why we're doing this is because we want to see what the difference is like going from tuning a CARBY, which neither of us have any idea how to do a CARBY before. We've never done one.
I was about to say, it's probably not going to be tuning. It's probably going to be monkeys trying to open a banana or something.
Pretty much, yeah. We know what he wanted to do. How do we make it do it? We don't know. And then tuning a sniper or EFI.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the differences on an old school, both Holden V8s.
Yeah. But what I want to really know is horsepower predictions, everyone. Jake?
50.
50.
What do you reckon we're about? I got no idea what this is made.
Oh, I might break the record for the least power.
So yeah, it's going to be an interesting day today. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully we don't kill either of them, because we need them for next weekend.
Yeah.
Well, so you have watched the journey with this sniper. It has a handheld control that you have inside the car, and that is supposedly able to do everything, but it is limited to how much it can do. If you actually plug this into a laptop, there's a lot more that opens up, and you can actually tune this thing, and you can do live tuning as well too, and logging as well too, all that sort of stuff, which you can do on the handheld. It's just not very convenient. But this cable right here, which took me like months to get out of the States, this is what allows you to actually plug into a laptop. So we need to figure out where this plugs into the Holly first, and then hopefully we can go from there. Jake has never played with a Holly sniper before, neither of us. So this is going to be a learning curve for everybody.
Yeah, I think so.
Looking at this engine now, it looks so filthy compared to the Sandman, which looks so new and nice. There you go, there's 2 extra kilowatts right there. So this end goes to you. Okay.
Well, let's plug it in, see what it's showing.
Yeah, I suppose.
What its vitals are.
Yeah,
See if it'll start. Flat line.
Yeah, right. I was about to say there's plenty of room, maybe there isn't.
No, there's none.
It's alright.
The exhaust is right there.
Make it work.
Unless we go on the outside of the spring, around the shocker.
That'd be shocking. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen the build on this thing, a couple of years ago now, or a year ago now, Nathan and I decided to put a Holly Sniper onto a 253, something that we hadn't seen done before. I have since seen a few being put onto it, but back then I hadn't really heard of anyone doing it, and it was more of an experiment to see what happened. Overall, it's been pretty good, but I have had issues along the way, especially on startup when I had a Holly Sniper unit which was faulty straight out of the box, which caused just a hell of a lot of grief. The issues that I've had along the way, basically, it's just been just running it in and going through all the teething issues. So that's just stuff like a little bit like jerky, and when you're driving along, it would be every now and again. RPM was doing funny things. That came down to just like loose terminals, stuff like that. But one of the major problems that I've had recently is starting it. It just seems to like be running really rich. Doesn't really want to run very well. Sometimes coming off the freeway, it'll be, if you're sitting at an RPM for a long period of time, like on the freeway, and you come off, it sits at like 1200 RPM, sometimes 2000 RPM, and you can't reset that without turning the car off again and turn it back on again, and it starts up fine. I think I've got that tracked down to being the idle air controller, which I've since swapped out, but it still does it every now and again. I don't know exactly what the problem is. We need to look into it a little bit further, but hopefully today we might find out some more info. I say to everyone with this system is a good system, and I like the idea, but I still feel like it's in its very early stages of development. I think Holly's probably one sort of generation away from making a really good product, because there's just a lot of finicky teething issues that come with this thing. And as I say to everyone as well too, like you could probably fix them. I just haven't had the time or the motivation to go back and fix those things. I literally just jump in the car, turn it on and go, I want you to work. And when it doesn't, I go, why won't you work? But I never go back and actually try and fix the problem. So this is what we're trying to do today. Fix those problems, fix those little issues. Because as much as there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of issues with this thing, a lot of them come down to wiring issues. You gotta be really good with your wiring. but there's a lot of people out there that have really good results with these things as well too. So I think it's just you need to go back and spend the time to make sure you've gone through all those teething issues, something that I've never done. I don't do that because we have too many other cars that we need to fix. Anyway, we'll see how it goes today. So how'd you find it on the way here? Yeah?
Every time I had a chance to drop to like second or third gear.
I heard you going through the tunnel. I heard, here he goes.
It drove mint though. It wasn't idling up when I was ramping down. It honestly drove perfect.
Yeah.
It was fat arm, one hand on steering wheel, knee up, whole way. This thing would cruise. This drives better than my XE, to be honest.
Yeah, Nathan.
We're currently YouTubing. How to update the Carby.
So the CARBY's out of date apparently.
Yeah.
The software in it.
So we need to do a an iOS update, make HQ work again.
Well, apparently the version that we're up to is 1.23, and the version that they're currently up to is 1.50.
So we're quite a bit out. We're 20 out.
It's only a year ago since I updated it though.
From the home screen,
YouTube
select
tutorials.
File, then select Global.
That's how you tune a car.
On the Save GCF screen, return to the home screen, and remove the SD card from the
Right now, every CARBY guy is going, you just get a screwdriver, mate.
We're doing this for you.
So you don't have to.
So you don't have to. See, we're gonna, by the end of today, we're either gonna tell you to buy one of these beautiful units, or we're gonna say, just bolt a Carby on it, get your screw, and just go, sounds good.
Yep.
And don't worry about air fuel ratio, just lean that bitch out.
Mine is mine.
If you're wondering why we're doing this right now and the HQ is doing nothing, it's because we're trying to tune that and the SD card's not working, so we need to go get a new SD card. That's the problem. That's a negative for the Sniper already.
What we're gonna adjust is, we're gonna start, mind you, we have no idea. We've just done a little bit of YouTubing and read some things, but what we are gonna adjust is we're gonna adjust the idle air mixture. So in this Carby, there's 4 screws that are in the metering blocks behind the floats. These 4 screws, we got to get the engine warm and the choke not on, which it is now. And then we got to set those to pretty much 0. And then we're going to crank them up to a turn and a half. And then we're going to adjust it so we get maximum manifold pressure and a decent, and a vacuum, sorry, and a decent idle.
So this is our vacuum tester, which I've used before on the HQ, doing exactly this back when it was a Carby and reliable. And it's what we're going to use to figure out when we have maximum vacuum. Just note how many times you turn them. And do you want to do it while it's running?
No, so it says to bottom them out, so go right in and then pull it out a turn and a half.
Okay. What about the secondaries though, because they're vacuum?
Well, it says to adjust all 4 ports.
Even...
So this is a 4 port, this is a 4 adjuster one.
Yeah.
And you adjust all 4.
Come on, everything is...
So now they're all they're out a turn and a half.
Everything is very hot.
Bunning snags, sizzled sausages. So, we might sound like we know what we're doing right now, but we don't. Hit it.
How's that different to any other time? Now we adjust.
Alright, so I'll go half a turn in for a quarter of a turn.
Yeah. That's come up a little bit, that's better. We're working. Yep, better again. So basically the way I understand it is you just keep turning it until it starts to go back the other way. And when it goes back the other way, you go back to what it was. To where it was the highest vacuum.
Yeah.
Vacuum of 15, I don't even know what that is measured in. HG,
Yeah.
whatever that is. We can't get it into the green. We've dialed it in and out and watched it go back and forth. So from as far as we tell, it's supposed to be basically as much vacuum as you can get, and this is as much as we're getting with what we got. So it seems to be idling fine. So anyway, it is what it is.
I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, I suppose. But
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah, it's all we can do now.
You want to shut it off?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't imagine it's very often when you're tuning a Carby that you have to go to Officeworks to get a new SD card.
Yeah. Oh, you just cut it in half.
Oh, you scared the shit out of me.
Scared me too, don't
I
I?
don't know this computer bullshit. So with these Carbys, you've just got to hack Skynet.
Did you drop it under the car?
That's the whole one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that's all.
Terminator will come and get it.
Dominator.
So yeah, you just got to hack Skynet to be able to tune one of these.
I know, we haven't even tuned it yet. We have to say too that this isn't necessarily the Holly's fault.
No, it's not.
This looks like a computer having trouble transferring over the new update.
Yeah.
We need to be unbiased here. We also need to tell the people what's Holly's fault and
Yes.
what's Windows 95 fault.
Yes.
Alright, so we've finally had a bit of success after, what, 2 hours
Yeah.
of battling computer issues. It seems to be an issue with the file directory on the SD card not working, and the video that Holly has on how to do it is out of date now. It's like 2 years old or something like that, Jake was saying. It's 4 years old, and it's much more complicated than what you think it should be to be able to just like transfer or update your Holly firmware. So anyway, it's done now. Hopefully now we should be able to plug in. I'm going to swap this wire back over for you. See, that's where I used to have to like put a little bit of throttle in.
Yeah, we should have to do that.
Exactly right.
It's EFI.
That's why you go EFI.
It's EFI.
In fairness, it used to do that. When
What?
we first put it in, it used to fire by itself.
Yeah.
This thing.
How it is, right, how it was running was pretty much how a car ran. You had to like rev it and warm it up.
Exactly. All the stuff that they advertise, never worry about cold starts ever again.
Yeah.
Start the car from outside the car. Used to do, then it was like, now it's like CARBY.
Lucky I got that. I almost didn't hit record then.
It's running again. That's good. That's a good start. Yep. Keep going. So we're just trying to give it a little bit more air on startup now because it's apparently you might be starving for air, so we're just going to try that and see what happens.
That's pretty good. Up and down.
So we've had to play with the idle as much as we can. It's not doing exactly what we want. It seems to like hover up and down, and Jake's trying to tune that out, but it's not complying. The IAC has just been a pain in the ass. It's something that I've struggled with in the past with this setup. We're going to leave that for now and go through the actual tuning and start looking at building a map, and then we'll come back to idle after this and see what we can do. Jake's saying ideally what we want to do is be able to control timing. And to be able to control timing, we need to run a Hyperspark unit, which is something I have considered, but I want to make sure I get to see whether it's worthwhile getting this right first. If this doesn't work, no point in spending any more money on this setup. So we'll see what happens, see what we can do with what we got. So we're about to do a power run, Jake's saying. We've done some learning now. We've gone through and made somewhat of a table. I'm going to say 110 kilowatts.
I'm going to say 70 kilowatts.
70 kilowatts, Jake?
88.
88. Lucky 88.
Come on, old girl, surprise us. I better check the straps, make sure she falls down. She might break free.
Garage, best sounding 253.
Well, that's probably it. There's nothing more we can do.
Yeah.
More in it. I reckon there's more RPM to be had, unless it's running out. Bell bounce or fuel cut? I think we found that back up here.
I think we... That was scary.
Yeah. Alright, we've been playing with it flat out for the past hour or so. We're not having a lot of luck with it because there's really not much we can do apart from adjust fuel, and Jake's saying there's not a lot that you can really do with that either. It's not that smart and it's not that compliant. So played with the timing one last time. We're going to go for another power run basically just for the hell of it, see what happens. And then I think we're going to call it here because we're at the limits of what this can do in this setup. The only other thing we can really go and do from here is look at putting timing control into this thing. We may or may not, depending on what Jake reckons. We don't know. We'll see what it does. Amazing. I don't know how well you guys can hear that at home, but it sounds so good here. 108.
Hey!
I said 110, so
You were bang on the money.
yeah. 108. Hey, we nearly topped out the top of the graph here.
Yeah.
You didn't give it enough credit.
You have to make it smaller. I think the graph started at like 300.
Alright, well, let's get this off now. Go from Sniper to Carby, which we can literally just put on and go, that's all we get. That's, what it
That's
does.
all we can do. I know, yeah? Heaps better. It was so bad before.
Alright, so now we get to try and tune a Carby. Here's our tuning software. This is as much as we need.
Does that need firmware update?
I'm tuning. What? Lambda. How good is that? So this is our O2 sensor that we have by the collector, and that's the O2 sensor in the back of the exhaust. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, that's bang on.
Yeah. Oh, I get a passenger. So if anything goes wrong, Nate, you got to attend to it down
That's
there.
all right, I'll just do everything. ready. Hey!
What RPM was that?
It definitely just flattened it out though. It just ended.
We're off the graph.
That's fun, but very scary at the same time. Alright, we figured Nathan should have a go now. Now you'll be able to do your fair lane after this. How's that?
That's scary.
It's scary in that seat, isn't it? And it just keeps revving too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, tuning done. That's pretty much it.
That was good.
Well, that's it for today. We're going to call it here. We've had a huge day, mainly because of the HQ. Final figures, 137 rear wheel kilowatts for the Sandman and 108 for the HQ. Both surprised us, I suppose. The Sandman, Jake was amazed at how far it revved to, and just like the fact that it pulled like that. We weren't expecting it, and straight out of the gate, without even touching anything in the carby, all the AFRs or Lambda, whichever one you work in, Jake's saying looks spot on. It's not worth jetting, not worth doing anything to. It looks really good. I think we got the idle mixture right, Nathan and I, earlier today, so that's all fine now as well too. One less thing to worry about, so that's awesome, you know. The thing is too with this dyno as well too, there is like a 15% reduction in power that we reckon, so we got to times that by 15% to get what we reckon is a real figure, because this dyno is slightly out of calibration. So that would make the HQ 124 real kilowatts and the Sandman 157 real kilowatts. So yeah, that's freaking awesome. We're pretty wrapped with that. I don't know whether we've really solved the topic of what's better to shoot in CARBY or EFI today, because
I think the CARBY wins because we didn't touch it.
the CARBY wins because we didn't touch
we
it.
did 10 minutes of idle adjustment, that's it.
Yeah, and you know, it works straight out of the box, as CARBY as this CARBY claims it should do. Straight out of the box, it should work on pretty much any engine. It has done exactly that. The Holy Sniper, which you pay a hell of a lot more for, which claims to work straight out of the box on any engine, not so much, but
Still needs to prove it.
we still need to prove it. A lot of the issue could be coming from the fact that we don't have timing control, and that might be something that we look into in the future to try and get it a little bit more reliable and predictable and be able to do what we actually need it to do. We don't know yet. It's either that or we toss the whole Holy thing, because we did this as an experiment a year ago to see how it go, and look, it's been really good, but it's also been really bad in a lot of aspects as well too. I've spoken about them all, I think, to death now, but we'll see how it goes this weekend in Bright, and then if it's no good, or we feel like we might go
CARBY. No.
yeah, we're not going back to CARBY. We're not giving up on a 253 injected 253, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, if you've liked this episode, please make sure to consider liking and subscribing. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can head on over to the website. We can buy a bunch of Hackshop merch. I don't know if we got a word for the day today, except for maybe scary.
Scary.
Because this was scary at times. Yeah, anything you got to add, Nate?
Not really. A big thanks to obviously Jake again.
Yeah, Jake, thank you so much for all your work that you did today. It was stressful at times, mainly because HQ, this thing was amazing. Just put it on, did its thing, and now we roll it off and drive it home. Yeah, like I said, the Sniper, it's probably a lot to do with my doing. I need to go over and get the teething problems, but today should have fixed those teething problems. And
Yeah, we'll see how it drives home.
And it hasn't, so we'll see.
See what happens.
Anyway, until we see you in the next episode, Catch you then.
Professional set this up.
I know, look at you go.
Thanks for hiring me. Or maybe I'll just live under the stairs and when the car comes in I just crawl out. I moved the dyno! I turn on the fan.
Flick the switch.
Rename the configuration for easier identification.
If you wish to
When you're
talk
finished,
to a prompter,
press OK.
press 1.
You should now see a downloading progress bar.
Your
in the
car.
calibration.
Shall we go look at the bug while we wait?
Yeah, we can look at the bug.
Because there's a viewer, Kevin Hamling, I think it is.
Yeah.
He's been watching from like ages ago, and he's been saying that we need to get a bug onto the channel. So here you go, Kevin. This is for you.
This is Daniel and Caitlin's bugs.
Yeah.
And Daniel's just done the front drop beam in it. And he's lowered the rear, which is as simple as just moving the spline on the I'm just going to call it a control arm, even though it's pretty much just a sheet of 1.2 sheet metal. It's so thin. And this is how it looks.
Now it's slammed. It looks sick.
So sick. And I hit a bump, right? I was like, oh, that's a big bump. I looked in the mirror, vision mirror, and all I see is Daniel just go.
Yeah, I know. I saw the same thing. I was watching his head go doing, doing, doing.
We're about to start tuning. I just want to hear that full noise.
I just want to hear both full noise, but most of all, I just want to get this revision up to what the current revision is.
We're probably going to just hit update 50 times. How far are we behind? 22?
27.
Update.
Try turning it on and off again.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Alright, so before I sign off in this video, I thought I'd give you a quick little update on where we're at now on the Sniper HQ. So I have in fact gone ahead and put timing control into this thing. I did end up putting in a Hyperspark unit, which includes like the ignition module and the coil as well too. The reason being is, judging from our experience in the dyno, a lot of the issues that we had with the Sniper could have been overcome with timing control. I've only just installed it. I've had it running for a day or two now. I've gone for a quick drive around the block. It seems to be so much better than whatever it was, and it seems to be starting a lot better than it ever did before, like it used to when I first had it. It's now relying on timing rather than the idle up controller to try and keep idle steady and start the car and all that kind of stuff. So fingers crossed, this might be the fix to the Sniper. It definitely seems a whole lot better already with just a quick little play around that I've had with it already. And also too, pulling this apart while I was doing all this work and upgrading it, I also found a few issues that could definitely have been a problem and contributing to all the little issues that I had with this car for a long time now. Stuff that I would have found if I had gone back and tried to sort out those teething problems, but like I said, I just never had. It isn't until now that I've actually gone through, looked at it and gone, oh yeah, that could have been doing it, oh that could have been doing it, and that could have been a problem as well too. So heaps of little things that might have added up to one big problem, I suppose. But yeah, more on that next episode when I go into more detail about the Hyperspark system and how it all works, how it goes installing it, and how we find it. I reckon this is the thing that this Sniper was missing this whole time. Like I said, I started this as an experiment to see what the bare minimum was to run a Sniper. I did that and I had its limitations. We found those limitations and now it is time to take that next step and go into timing control, which we've now done. So yeah, our experience in the dyno as it wasn't that great, but I think with this setup, a lot more compliant and a lot more reliable, and even gained a little bit more power out of it now. So yeah, let's not give up on the old little 253 with a Sniper on it just yet. See you next week.